we are going to hit pause on all the NFL trade rumors out there because we have some really big injury news to attend to before this Week 9 matchup between the Cowboys and the Falcons. Let's start with the Cowboys, and then we'll look at the hometown team. So, DaRon Bland, who is the Cowboys' number 2 cornerback after Trayvon Diggs, was activated off of injured reserve. He's the corner, if you don't know, who had 5 return touchdowns last year, an NFL record. He suffered a foot fracture before the season started, so he is looking to make his debut on Sunday. They opened up his practice window 21 days ago today, and if they did not activate him to the 53-man roster, he would be placed on season-ending IR. So at the very end of that practice window, they promote him to the active roster, and they are hoping he could play this Sunday. So keep an eye on that. And then as for Micah Parsons, who has been out since the Cowboys-Giants game a few weeks ago, he is improving, according to Mike McCarthy, but he's not ready to practice yet. So if he does not practice this week, I would not expect to see Micah Parsons play on Sunday in Atlanta. Now let's get to the Falcons injury news. They've got 5 notable players to keep an eye on during this week of practice: Justin Simmons, Troy Andersen, Drew Dalman, Ruk Orhorhoro, and Antonio Hamilton. We'll go one by one in terms of level of somewhat importance to the team. Let's just be honest, Justin Simmons probably going to carry a little bit more weight than Antonio Hamilton. So he missed week 8 with a hamstring injury. He tried to give it a go before the game started, ultimately was inactive, and hopefully will play on Sunday. Raheem Morris touched on all these players' injury statuses while speaking to the media today. For Simmons, he said, should be back to his normal program. So encouraging stuff. If you were very close to playing last Sunday, close enough to give it a go Sunday morning, I'm just going to kind of do the napkin math in my head and go, give it 7 more days, should be good to go, hopefully, next Sunday at home against the Cowboys, which I'd love to see Simmons back because he is one of the better players and one of the more talented players on this defense, and we know the Cowboys can't run the football. We know this because we talked about it in our preview video yesterday, which I know all of your beautiful faces watched. So with that being said, they are going to want to pass the football. And when Dak Prescott gets picked off 2 times this year, he is 1-3. And what do you know? 2 safeties who have PhDs in takeaways, Jesse Bates and Justin Simmons, are awaiting Prescott. So hopefully they can get Simmons back, and thus the takeaways come, and there goes the Cowboys' chances of winning the game. Now, before we move on to the next injury update, I was looking over the last couple of videos here, and so we picked up really impressive 385 likes for our preview video, 543 for our trade rumors update, and nearly 700 for our Week 8 recap. So, as a daily reminder, make sure to like the video. It does go a long way to boost the channel. Also, just as a consumer, I don't know if you guys ever have the same things that happen to me, but sometimes I like a content creator, but I kind of forget to follow or like them, and then they fall out of my algorithm, and I completely forgot about it until they come back in. I'm like, where have they been for like 8 weeks? So don't let that happen to you, like today's video. So moving on to our second injury update, linebacker Troy Andersen. Hopefully we can get him back. It'll be the first time since the week 4 game it was against New Orleans. Raheem Morris said Andersen progressing a little further. They're hoping to get him back in team drills this week. Remember, the Falcons did not place Andersen on injured reserve when his knee injury happened, which to me signaled they believed he would not miss 4 games, and we are creeping towards that 4-game spot, so hopefully Sunday is the day that Andersen comes back because the Falcons linebacking core really needs him. I mean, for starters, Nate Landman does not look healthy out there. If you watched that Bucs game, you saw Nate Landman get pushed around and blown off the football uncharacteristically at an alarming rate. So they desperately need to get Andersen back out there because right now they're playing with one linebacker essentially, Caden Ellis, who has to do the job of all the edge rushers because your inside linebacker leads the team in quarterback pressures. That's just an alarming stat, but it would be super cool if they had other good pass rushers. They don't. So much is on Ellis's plate. And Landman has to go out there because Anderson's not healthy. And when Bertrand, the rookie, started against the Buccaneers on Thursday night, it was basically a disaster. So please, Andersen, get that knee right because Landman needs it, and Ellis definitely needs some help out there because right now he is doing everything by himself. Before we look at the rest of the injury news, I do want to give a quick shout out to our wonderful sponsor today, Game Time. One thing I love about Game Time is they offer the Game Time guarantee. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Game Time Picks, by the way, which is an awesome feature of theirs, filters out the fluff to only show you great value and great deals. That way you don't spend 30 to 60 minutes searching across multiple sites for the best deals available. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHAT Sports for $20 off. I put all that information in the comments and description of today's video. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Next starter up is center Drew Dalman, who has missed the last 5 weeks with an ankle injury, and hopefully he can come back soon. I mean, he has completed the 4-game minimum stint on injured reserve, so theoretically he could be activated off IR at any moment and could play, or maybe he already has been activated off IR and that's why he's practicing. I don't know. I can't keep up with the injuries. But here's what Morris said. Dalman is doing really well. So, a man of many words, Raheem Morris, but the tone was very upbeat and energetic. I promise. You just got to take my word for it. But like I said, he has missed the last 5 weeks on IR, and when you get placed on short-term IR, you have to miss a minimum of 4 weeks. So, hopefully that means we're going to get Dalman back. I don't think they've opened his practice window. I don't remember seeing that storyline. But, anywho, the Falcons' offensive line. That's where I left off. They have a really good unit. That's no surprise. There's one squeaky wheel. It's unfortunately the backup center. And hey, that kind of comes to the territory of when you lose a starter, more often than not, the backup is not going to be quite as good. Now, I don't think the PFF rank for Nuzul has been very fair to him. I don't think he's been the 35th best center in football, but suffice to say, they would love to have Dalman back out there because look at the other 4 starters. Jake Matthews is as consistent and as underappreciated as they come across the NFL. DaRon's just a top half guard. Is he going to be a Pro Bowl guard? Maybe once in his career, if we're being honest with one another. Is he going to be a 8 to 12-year starter? I think so. Lindstrom is an all-pro, and Caleb McGarry is kind of like the older version of Matthew Bergeron, but just gets a little less criticism because you don't quite notice guards giving up sacks as much as you do tackles. But still, if your squeakiest wheel amongst your 5 starters is a right tackle who ranks 48th out of 76 qualifying tackles, you're doing pretty well. Now, before we get to the next piece of injury news here, name a random Falcons player for me. It's been a while since we've done this. I always love asking this question every so often because it's a fun little time machine in the comment section for everyone to go looking through, right? You get random names like Jaquiz Rogers to Taylor Gabriel. No Kirk Cousins, no Matt Ryans, no Julio Joneses. Save the A-tier names for another day. I want the B and C-tier guys right now. All right, let's get to the rookie defensive tackle, Ruk Orhorhoro. He is dealing with an ankle injury. He left the Buccaneers game early as a result of that. Of all the players that Morris talked about today, this was the least upbeat one he sounded about. We'll have to see a little bit more. Not looking great. It's Wednesday, so usually the way it works in the NFL when you get an injury on Sunday is you get some MRIs, you get some pictures done on Sunday after the game. Sometimes they need a little bit more time for the swelling to go down. They do that on Monday. And then Tuesday is kind of the off day in the NFL, but in season, no one's really ever off. And that's usually when coaches kind of get some updates on their guys. If it's a big update, then it tends to leak to the media. No news is good news in that scenario. And then on Wednesday, you get a better update from the coach when they speak to the media. And this was not the update, obviously, we were hoping to hear, especially because Ruk has kind of found himself a spot in this defensive line rotation the last couple of weeks. He was a healthy scratch for the first 3, 4, 5 weeks of the year. Last couple of games, he's playing somewhere between 12 to 17 snaps a game. And you just want to get the rookie some experience because it's a veteran defensive line. You know, David Onyemata, Grady Jarrett, those are guys who are over the age of 30. Eddie Goldman and Kentavious Street are not going to be long-term pieces at that position. That's why you invested a second-round pick. So for me, I'm not going to really read into Ruk's rookie season all that much. I wouldn't call it a redshirt year, but somewhere in between the two where He didn't play at all the first couple of weeks. Now he's playing a couple of snaps here and there. Ultimately, I just want to see him develop and grow as a player, and we can get a better assessment on him next season. Fifth and final piece of injury news, backup corner Antonio Hamilton. So I saved the best for last. Antonio Hamilton dealing with a back injury that did not sound very concerning from Raheem Morris. So hopefully he is healthy and available for Sunday, because this is a Cowboys team that knows they can't run the football like we discussed earlier. And when they get pass happy, you're going to have to be DB happy, right? If an injury were to pop up, of course you want to have a healthy backup corner available. But on top of that, if the Cowboys start trotting out 3, even 4 wide receiver looks because they're just abandoning their run by the start of the second half, well, you're going to need to have a lot of fresh DBs out there to keep up with those Cowboys receivers. So hopefully Hamilton will be available on Sunday. Before we get on out of here, a couple other quick housekeeping notes I want to hit on. Kirk O'Chains, Kirktober. I mean, it's almost end of the Kirk October reign here. He is the best quarterback in the month of October. He was the NFC Player of the Week for yet another awesome performance against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It is the second time he has been voted NFC Player of the Week, and now we've had 4 Falcons players get that award. Week 2, Jesse Bates against the Eagles, Troy Andersen against the Saints. That was week 4, the last time we've seen Andersen, so go back to our conversation earlier. He's now missed week 5, 6, 7, 8. I guess you really could have put him on IR then. Okay, that's a bummer. Week 5, Cousins, and then week 8, Kirk Cousins as well. And it just goes to show that, well, it wasn't a very long drought for the Falcons when it comes to quarterback play being on the upper echelon side of things here. Look at the start he's gotten off to compared to the last 3 starting quarterbacks. Ritter last year in the same time span, first 8 games, 400 fewer yards, 8 fewer touchdowns. And then Mariota, you can see the drop-off from Cousins as well. Ryan's as close as it gets, and from a number standpoint, they're not very far off, but I think we can all agree from an eye, test standpoint, they're pretty far off from Matt Ryan in 2021 versus Kirk Cousins right now. I mean, just a difference of, 300 yards over 8 games, so quick math, 35 yards a game. I mean, 35 yards was pretty crucial for the Falcons to get in range to beat the Saints on a walk-off field goal. So every yard matters in the NFL. I mean, any given Sunday, any inch, every single inch, we claw, all that good stuff. All right, before we sign off, who you got? Falcons, Cowboys. Let me know in the comment section below. I'm rolling with the Dirty Birds. I want to hear who you have down below. So drop an ATL if you're rocking with me.